Part 62. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 611. Wednesday, July 13th, this is a harvest day. Zerg King Lu Xiaoming obtained the 5th skill in the Zerg Spiritual Sea, Zerg Mist. This skill has strict limitations, and can only be learned by Zerg at least at the Overlord level. After learning it, you can release Zerg Mist to the outside world with your body as the center. Wow! After knowing this limitation, look at the Ch galaxy. The volume of mist at least spreads across several planetary orbits. Xiaoming was convinced. It seems that these are all released by the overlords of the Zerg in the past generations. How many Zerg overlords can spray out so much Zerg mist? The Zerg has been drifting to the Ch galaxy for 1.5 million years. If the overlords in the early stage were not dead, they might have released it for more than a million years. It took a long time of accumulation to reach the current scale. Zerg mist has three main functions. One, mist can absorb various radiation energies and dissolve corpses. This is how the mist obtains energy. Since the fog can absorb all kinds of radiation, that is, it absorbs all kinds of electromagnetic waves, most of the reconnaissance methods on the technological side will fail. Even gamma rays cannot spread too far in the Zerg fog. This depends on the concentration of the fog. Anyway, the fog in the Ch galaxy is definitely thick enough. 2 Zerg in the fog can obtain energy and mental power replenishment. Zerg born in the fog will also get the initial mental power bonus. 3 Wherever there is Zerg fog, there will be a corresponding degree of Zerg mental C. Fog in different regions does not belong to the same mental C. The strength of the mental C and the speed at which the fog replenishes Zerg energy and mental power are related to the size of the fog. In fact, there are some hidden settings in the Zerg fog, which can only be understood after Xiaoming releases a large enough fog. For example, when the fog reaches a considerable scale, the mental C will be strong enough to communicate with other mental Cs. It is not really forever on the other side. And the more fog a Zerg overlord spews out, the greater the consumption of itself. But the more feedback the spiritual C gives him, the more feedback he will get. Xiaoming guessed this from the beginning. So the Zerg King also began to release Zerg mist at a very low speed to contribute to the Zerg. Of course, Xiaoming hopes to open up a world of his own. This ideal needs to be considered in the long run. Xiaoming didn't feel sorry that he didn't learn the skills to deal with the big centipede in the spiritual sea. Because today Huang Xiaoming logged into the diver and connected to the Protoss domain. After the connection, it was discovered that the Protoss domain is actually also a spiritual domain. There is no real form. Here are the various knowledge and insights accumulated by one of the three major races, the Protoss. It is very similar to the spiritual sea of the Zerg. It's just that here, Huang Xiaoming's mental power did not improve rapidly, but felt a slow warming. It's a pity that it's only half an hour a week, and the effect is probably not very good. But no matter how small the mosquito leg is, it's still meat, and Xiaoming is not picky. In addition, the Protoss domain does not seem to have too many restrictions. How much you can learn depends entirely on your individual ability. Unlike the Zerg spiritual sea, which limits the number of skills that each individual can learn. Both sides can be said to have their own strengths. I don't know who is imitating whom, but there must be a sequence. In the game, I encountered something closely related to reality. Xiaoming is no longer surprised. It is normal to think that the basis of the Magic Planet game is the Fuxi Qin. Maybe, in the process of making the game, not only the Terran optical brain, but also the remnants of the Zerg and the Protoss may have intervened. This Protoss domain is likely the result of Protoss interference. The last time was to obtain the qualification, and this time is Xiaoming's first time to enter the domain. The game is really very face-saving. The first skill learned is very good. Xiaoming named this skill Feedback. Feedback is a skill used against the enemy, which can detonate the opponent's mental power and cause great damage to the opponent's vitality. Of course, the higher the opponent's mental power, the greater the mental power consumed by the party to perform the skill. With Xiao Ming's current level 6 mental power, it is estimated that it is enough to face most enemies. This is probably the skill used by the Protoss against the Zerg and Terrans. It is specially used to deal with individuals with extremely high mental power. Xiao Ming feels that this ability is not only effective for mental power, but also for magic power. However, it is ineffective for the force, spiritual power, telekinesis, chakra, microcosm, etc. It is estimated that it is definitely ineffective for domineering. Why is this so? Xiao Ming has not yet reached that level and has no idea of the principle. In fact, Xiao Ming completely misunderstood this skill. He is using his own energy system as a reference. In fact, this skill is effective for any supernatural energy, but it can also be said to be ineffective. This mainly depends on how closely the opponent combines the supernatural energy with himself. At the same time, it also depends on the level of understanding of the supernatural energy of the person performing the skill. In addition, this skill is particularly effective for mental power and magic power because it is developed by the Protoss. Xiao Ming's supernatural energy has been combined into an energy network, which can be said to be quite tight. If this skill is used on Xiao Ming, it will not be very effective even against mental power and magic power. That's why Xiao Ming thought that this skill was only effective for mental power and magic power. And the effect was not particularly strong. However, this misunderstanding was soon resolved. After learning the skill, all souls also learned it together. The Insect King looked around and felt that all the Zergs could be hurt by the feedback skill. Especially the Zerg humans, they all have small universes, spiritual power, and telekinesis. Xiao Ming felt that they could all be detonated together. Even the supernatural energy of the B-level Zerg humans under his command can be detonated. However, a major feature of the Zerg humans is that their health bars are long, strong vitality, and detonating them will only cause injuries, and they cannot be killed at all. Moreover, the main reason why Xiao Ming can easily use the feedback skill on Zerg humans is that Zerg humans are all his own descendants. Zerg humans have almost no resistance to Xiao Ming's will. If it were a normal opponent, it would definitely not be so easy. It is estimated that A-level masters can probably resist his feedback. If it is B-level, it is estimated that it can resist part of it. C-level ones probably can't resist it. The giant centipede lying in the asteroid field in front of me, although it has strong mental power, has no ability to resist the feedback because its brain is broken. But with such a huge body, it may not die if it really explodes, right? Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 612. It turns out that despite its huge body, the centipede was still killed in an instant. First of all, this monster has too much mental power, and it has never been used much, almost overflowing. So much mental power is detonated, the lethality is extremely huge. Ordinary mental power users will not keep so much mental power unused. It is maintained at about 50–70%. Another important reason is that when the mental power explodes, the central nervous system is the first to be damaged. If the opponent is an intelligent creature, it will instinctively protect the central nervous system and disperse the power of the explosion. At most, it will be injured, and its life will definitely not be in danger. But this brain-dead centipede has lost this instinct. A violent light flashed. The brain and spine of the centipede were blown up. There was a big hole in the head. The other parts of the body were not seriously injured. Such a huge body can make the entire army under the Insect King feast. Xiao Ming hadn't thought about it yet, and the collective salivation of thousands of insects around him was collectively conveyed through the spiritual kingdom. There is really nothing you can do with this group of guys. Because there is really not much delicious food in the Chu galaxy. The Zerg will not give up any opportunity to have a full meal. Xiaoming waved his hand helplessly, and thousands of Zerg rushed over with a roar. The Zerg humans were a little more reserved, but they could use the straws on their tails to suck directly. The efficiency of eating is far superior to that of ordinary Zerg. Green Xiaoming himself did not run over to join in the fun. He came to the largest asteroid in the colony and released Queen 001. Queen 001 was useless, so she should stay at home honestly. The Queen is full of energy now. These days in Kunlun, she has been raised to be white and fat. When she was first taken out, she was not very happy. This asteroid colony is indeed enough to build a nest. The Queen quickly produced a large number of eggs, and half of the hatched ones were earthworms. The other half were a kind of insect the size of a puppy. Xiaoming knew that these were equivalent to worker ants in the ant colony. Let's call it the engineer worm. The ability of the engineer worm is to build nests, collect resources, and can also transform its body into various functional buildings of the Zerg. The buildings of the Zerg are actually alive. Some of the functional buildings of the Zerg are directly combat buildings, some can enhance the ability of the corresponding Zerg troops. Others can provide the Queen Worm with Zerg genes that she did not have before. Let the Queen Worm produce more Zerg troops. You should know that the Zerg fog is not everywhere. When the Zerg fights outside the fog, it depends entirely on these Zerg buildings. So the Zerg army under Lu Xiaoming began a period of vigorous construction. Every time the Queen Worm No 001 lays eggs, she will definitely shout that she wants to go back to Kunlun. That's the most comfortable place. The energy provided by the Zerg gnaws is not as delicious as that in Kunlun. Especially the branches and leaves of the melon tree, which are so delicious that the worms can't stop. His first Queen Worm is still a little lowly, and Xiaoming is also quite indulgent to her. Being a bit picky about food is not a problem, just spoil him. Seeing the insect nest taking shape little by little, Green Xiaoming was full of expectations. At the same time, Silver Xiaoming was driven out of the Hunter secret realm by President Netero. The reason was, your training is over, and now your strength is very good, go to the Sky Arena first. At the same time, the Zaldik family also sent him a message. The young Master Killua and his friend Xiaja are in the Sky Arena. I hope that Mew Mew, the security consultant, will go and take a look, and if possible, train them. This is obviously a collusion. As a security consultant, Mew Mew has a high salary every month. All the money was spent by Wutong in the small village where Mew Mew was born. Mew Mew himself has a hunter license and does not need money casually. Using it in that village is really selling him a favor. Don't say it, Wutong is worthy of being one of the butlers of the Zaldik family, and he does things beautifully. Xiaoming will definitely accept his favor. Xiaoming has been practicing the heart source flow with President Netero for some time and has mastered a lot of basic knowledge. He has also learned a lot of telekinesis skills. Next, it is his turn to practice. What could be more practical than being with the protagonist? During this period of time, Xiaoming has mastered the long-awaited stretchable love and hate. In other words, in addition to the elasticity and stickiness of his telekinesis gum, Xiaoming has successfully added explosiveness. Guaranteed to kill people without paying for their lives. President Netero was amazed when he saw it. Although he has strong telekinesis, he is far inferior to Xiaoming in terms of multitasking. Out of sight, out of mind. Xiaoming strongly suspects that he was kicked out for this reason. Netero is just an old child. Although Mew Mew is the favorite disciple of the president of the Hunter Association, he did not receive any preferential treatment in the Sky Arena. However, Xiaoming's strength is so strong that he reached the 200th floor in a blink of an eye. As soon as I took the elevator to the 200th floor, I saw Xiaja and Killua talking to someone. Seeing him coming, Xiaja and Killua immediately ran over. They have always been grateful to this master who opened their telekinesis. Moo 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 moo, You are here too, do you know? We children always have a lot to say. Zyuja started to talk about his experiences after they separated, and Killua interrupted from time to time. The family did not tell Killua about Muta becoming the consultant of the Zaldik family. The two children did not know Xiaoming's true strength. They had seen Muta fight Hisoka, and they only knew that level. Facing the two of them, Xiaoming felt that his mentality had suddenly become much younger. Muta also looked like a child, similar to Zyuja and Killua. They looked like three children. Just as the three of them were chatting enthusiastically, the people who had talked to Killua before were not happy. A weird voice came over. Yo-ho, another child is here, there is no need to fight for it, let's each take one. The person who spoke was a guy in a wheelchair. You are so disabled, and you still look down on others. Before Xiaoming could complain, another buddy with a mean look on his face continued. Li Baiduo said it well, I agree to kill Dizuo, what do you think, Jaidu? Another brother with a cane and a red cloak replied, I agree too, let's do it. Xiaoming could tell at a glance that these guys all had telekinesis, but they were just as good as Gon and Killua. They were even more different from him. I don't know who gave them the courage to challenge me. Fish Liang. Did they really think that they were just kids who were easy to bully? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 613. Before Xiaoming and the other two could say anything, a strong murderous aura rushed over, covering all 6 people on both sides. Xiaoming was very familiar with this murderous aura. Isn't this the magician Hisoka? Why is that pervert here too? Facing Hisoka's murderous aura, Xiaoming was indifferent. Killua and Gon could withstand it. They were worthy of being the protagonists. They were tough. However, Li Baiduo, Shadizuo, and Jaidu couldn't bear it. Their whole bodies trembled like sieves, and they dared not move a step or say a word. In the world of Hunter x Hunter, telekinesis has a special bonus. Almost anyone with some telekinesis can be considered a C-level combat power. However, the difference between the same level is really too big. These few are the worst among the C-level. If they are strong and have some face, they will not stay here and wait to bully the newcomers. Even a few children who are only 12 or 13 years old want to bully. Guys with this mentality are actually trash. Generally, Hisoka doesn't bother to pay attention to such people. But this time he didn't intend to let these people get ahead, so Hisoka released his murderous intent. If killing people here would not be disqualified and would delay his business, Hisoka would definitely have killed the 3 of them. Now he just scared them away. Hey, long time no see. As the 3 people including Li Baiduo were scared away, Hisoka withdrew his murderous intent, walked forward, and greeted them like old friends. Zyuja and Killua were still on full alert, looking at Hisoka vigilantly. But now Xiaoming is no longer afraid of him. He has several layers of defense on his body. Even if Hisoka launches a surprise attack, he can't hurt a hair. And Xiaoming also feels that there are 2 other people far behind Hisoka. Although they used Zio to eliminate their presence. But they can't hide it from Xiaoming's circle, not to mention the scanning map. One of the girls is quite strong. It has also reached the level of B. The other one is slightly worse, at the middle level of C, but as a player, it's okay to reach this level. It should be a reincarnation. Xiaoming's circle is a full-scale exploration. Soon he found that the 3 people have one thing in common, that is, they all have a spider tattoo on their backs. Of course, Hisoka's tattoo is obviously fake, forged with a kind of mind ability. Xiaoming now has some knowledge of the Phantom Troop. Naturally, he knows that this is the logo of the troop. He also knows that the girl is called Maki. This is the first time Xiaoming has met someone who really belongs to the troop. Although Maki's strength is good, it is obviously not as good as Hisoka and Illumi, let alone Netero. It seems that the strength of the troop is not as strong as imagined. This is actually true. The popularity of the Phantom Troop is particularly high, partly due to strength, and the other part due to their personal charm. In terms of combat power, Hisoka and Illumi are already the top level of the troop. These two no longer pose a threat to him, so Xiaoming naturally doesn't think much of the troop's strength. In fact, Xiaoming is just too weak, and these two really can't do anything to him. But it is not easy for him to kill these two. Unless the other party insists on not running away, Xiaoming can use the human wave tactics to kill them. And this is just Xiaoming's idea. There are very few people who can reach the strength of Maki among the reincarnations. Having said that, considering the huge base of all reincarnations in the universe, the number of rare people is still quite large. It turns out to be Hisoka. "What's the matter, do you want to fight me again?" Xiaoming greeted him kindly. Hisoka is not interested in fighting with Mutio, mainly because it is boring to fight. And after being trained by President Netero, Mutio's telekinesis is obviously stronger. Hisoka obviously feels that he is at a disadvantage. Of course, Hisoka is not the kind of person who avoids when he sees a strong enemy. He just has other challenges and does not plan to die for the time being. After he gets his wish and fights the leader of the Phantom Troop, he doesn't mind coming to Xiaoming for a life and death duel. Haha, fight with you? Next time. I'm here to find them. Hisoka pointed at the two people beside Xiaoming. In fact, Killua is not his target. He and Illumi are still in the cooperation stage. It's not worth it to move Killua at this time. His target this time is Xiaoja. Mainly want to see how Xiaoja has grown. How much room for development there is in the future. If Xiaoming is given a choice, he will never agree to this battle. But Xiaoja is a stubborn fighting maniac and can't be stopped at all. The plot quickly advances to the battle stage between Hisoka and Xiaoja. This is also due to the rapid improvement of Xiaoja and Killua's strength. So they don't need to spend so much time learning telekinesis. Even during this period, the battle between Hisoka and Huashi Dulang did not happen. Xiaoming is so angry. This Xiaoja is really ungrateful. No matter the consequences, he just wants to rush up, but it makes people helpless. In comparison, Xiaoming prefers people like Killua who think carefully about what they do. There was no time for special training at this moment. Xiaoming just gave Xiaoji some life essence to improve his total amount of telekinesis. The improvement was not much, but it was just right for Xiaoji, whose telekinesis was still in its early stages. Of course, Killua was not left out. In fact, Xiaoji still benefited from Killua. There is no need to say much about the battle process. After all, the gap in strength was too great. Hisoka repeatedly let Xiaoji go and teased him, but in the end he easily defeated Xiaoji. It's just that Xiaoming felt very unhappy. Hisoka clearly didn't give him face. Out of respect for Xiaoji, Xiaoming didn't intervene in the outcome of the battle. But he quietly placed a lot of his own telekinetic chewing gum in the arena. When Hisoka won, the chewing gum collectively activated and blew off one of Hisoka's legs and one of his arms. Teach him a lesson: if a tiger doesn't send out a cat, do you think I'm critically ill? Xiaoji suffered some moderate injuries, and Xiaoming made him recover in a few minutes with a few healing spells. Hisoka was miserable. Fortunately, Maki helped and connected his broken limbs with the thread of telekinesis. Xiaoming, who watched the whole process with a circle, was amazed at her skills. It turned out that Maki was the healer in the brigade. No wonder the combat effectiveness was not very high. The intermediate healing magic of that player also played a big role in it. Speaking of this healing magic alone, he is actually better than Xiaoming. Xiaoming's current healing magic is still the earliest elementary healing spell. Of course, the effect is a little worse. And that player may be a priest specializing in healing profession, and has surpassed Xiaoming in this aspect. Xiaoming will learn intermediate healing sooner or later, so he doesn't care much. Maki's silk thread is quite interesting. Unfortunately, I still know too little about it and don't have enough information to simulate it. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 614. Maki's exclusive ability of Nen is just interesting after all, Xiaoming doesn't care much about it. There are many different abilities in terms of treatment. However, a piece of news she told Hisoka before leaving aroused Xiaoming's interest. The Phantom Troop will gather in Yukiksen City. This is an order issued by the leader of the troop, and all members must be present. This certainly aroused his great curiosity. Yin Xiaoming plans to speed up this progress. The famous Phantom Troop, cosplayers have met several of them. Finally, I have the opportunity to see the real troop. I am a little excited when I think about it. Double happiness, Huang Xiaoming on Sheneng 2 also encountered interesting things. But it was in the main game. Huang Xiaoming's interest in martial arts planet can only be said to be average. At most, it is just a nostalgic past. Since he does not plan to wake up his parents in reality, Xiaoming plans to find them in the secret realm. There are only 3 secret realms at the beginning, so it should not be difficult to find them. But this matter can be postponed until after 8 o'clock in the evening. Let's go to the magic planet during the day. So Huang Xiaoming first logged into the diver and went to the Protoss domain to learn the feedback skill. Then he looked around the explorer and the researcher, and finally landed on the dead. The dead had already led the army to the place where dozens of large shipwrecks were placed according to the predetermined plan. When there was still some distance away, Xiaoming saw an interesting phenomenon. This group of undead monsters actually transformed this pile of broken ships into a water fortress. Although it looks a bit messy and broken, the system has actually recognized it. These ships were placed here by myself, don't they need to get my consent? Obviously, it is not necessary. Xiaoming just picked up these ships, and he lost the ownership when he threw them away. This group of undead monsters really have some skills, and they actually built this place into a water fortress. However, there is not even a small boat in the village. This group of monsters are not pirates, probably wandering refugees. It was only because the location of the other party's ship was by the river that it was converted into a water fortress. It doesn't seem to match the profession of these guys. When Xiaoming Yuan came into contact with this group of undead, Xiaoming knew that his luck had come. Because they are all undead, judging from the tattered clothes of some zombies and black warriors, these undead should have been Japanese in their lifetime. It's just right to play the role of the 8-foot mirror. Don't say anything, hurry up and take back the strategic equipment and treasures of the dead. Especially the 8-foot mirror still in the hands of the researcher, which is a weapon to deal with Japanese and undead. In addition, the opponent's troops are obviously many, much stronger than the troops of the dead. This also reduces the chance of surrendering them. Xiaoming temporarily stopped the team and played the talent of the dead to recruit the primary skeleton soldiers. Added 540 skeleton soldiers with command power to his subordinates. Now we still need troops to support the scene, so we won't develop troops for the time being. The 50% failure rate is really unbearable. When the deceased was about to arrive at the water fort, he suddenly entered the plot mode. 3 skeleton cavalrymen from the front came to investigate, and Pingyi Taekang, a general under the deceased, suddenly rode forward. "Hey, Murashita, Tanaka, Yamamoto, didn't you help the fallen subordinates? Do you still recognize me? I am Pingyi Taekang." Xiaoming looked at Pingyi Taekang's skull and thought, if you were a zombie, it would be fine, but with this skeleton, it would be strange if they could recognize you. This thought was immediately slapped in the face. Who knows how these skeletons recognize each other? Those three actually recognized him. Can it be identified like the players? When fellow villagers meet, two of them quickly run back to report, and the remaining one greets and talks to Pingyi Taekang. At the same time, two undead generals under the deceased, Zayawahi and Katagiri Kiwaner, also came over. Xiaoming was very happy now. Not only were they Japanese undead, but they were also acquaintances. The possibility of surrendering them was even greater. 3 adults, it seems that you have become very successful. Please help us, woo woo woo, my adults are in great pain. Of course, Xiaoming's economic strength far exceeds the current stage. The general's equipment on these 3 generals is first class. They look awesome. The troops they lead are also armored and fat and strong. On the other hand, this group of undead monsters obviously live in a very miserable way. From Xiaoming's point of view, the equipment of this army is already in tatters. Most of the undead seem to be malnourished and lack the nourishment of the breath of death. The vitality of most of the troops is not satisfied. This is a scene that only appears in special plots. With the conversation between several undead, mainly the 3 generals here asked questions and the skeleton cavalry answered. Xiaoming also understood the general's situation. The 3 generals on our side are 3 of the 7 generals of Jianyu, and the wild monsters entrenched here are the scattered soldiers led by the other 4 of the 7 generals of Jianyu. Divided into 2 teams, each with a hero leading a general, Jiatang Qingzheng leads Jiatang Jiamian, Fudao Genzi leads Ziban Anzi. As for the specific levels of these undead, Xiaoming learned about them later. It was not said by the soldier. Among them, Jiatang Jiamian is a level 17 green skeleton pirate general, Ziban Anzi is a level 16 green ghost pirate general. The team has 2 professional pirate generals, but they don't have any ships. They are really in a bad situation. Judging from their strategic level, they are not far behind the 3 generals under the accused. Even the adventure level of these 5 green undead generals is similar, all of them are more than 10 levels of level 1, close to level 2. Alas, this is also helpless. Pingyi Taekang and his men followed the accused, doing infrastructure projects. The battles were not frequent enough. Even the growth of the accused himself was delayed, let alone them. The only ones who were not delayed were the 2 blue boss level heroes. Fudao Genzi is the leader of the 7 young generals of Jianyu, and the force is responsible. Strategically, he is a level 2, 11th level Death Knight hero, the adventure level is a level 2, 24th level Death Knight. Fudao Genzi's characteristic is bravery, and he is the strongest fighter among the 7 young generals of Jianyu. Individual strength is very outstanding. Jiatang Qingzheng is the wisdom of the 7 young generals. Whenever encountering important matters, he makes the decision. Strategically, he is a level 21 necromancer hero. His adventure level is a level 2 necromancer of level 13. What's more, Jiatang Qingzheng is also a genius in construction. This water fortress, which was rebuilt from a pile of shipwrecks, is his masterpiece. This group of outstanding geniuses almost missed the dead. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 615. The force of the 7 generals of Jianyu was defeated by the undead tribe, and the 7 generals and their subordinates had actually all died in the battle. Later, for some reason, the 7 generals and some of their subordinates turned into undead and reborn. After rebirth, they were still wandering ghosts without a home. Moreover, they had lost too much memory, and many old things could no longer be remembered. At first, they even forgot each other, and each of them led their subordinates to wander around the main island of Japan. Later, they gradually remembered each other unconsciously. Under the inspiration of the Brotherhood in the Dark, they reunited and formed 2 teams on the way of wandering. They were led by Fudao Zhengzheng and Katang Qingzheng respectively. They should have fought for the world after the reunion. Katong Qingzheng led Katagiri Kiwaner, Pingyi Taekang, Zhao Awahi, and others, and even built a city and checkpoints on Gaibei Mountain, waiting for the arrival of Fudao Zhenzhen's troops. However, at this moment, things changed. This unit of Jiatang Qingzheng was spotted by a lich prophet of the undead. They were sent to the territory of the human race daming through a portal, and were given the task of expanding the territory for the undead. There is no doubt that this lich prophet was the prophet who later issued the task chain invasion of the undead to the dead. As a result, Jiatang Qingzhen's undead unit encountered a bandit soon after entering the territory of daming, which was Luo Rukei's unit. Luo Rukei, in line with the righteousness of the race, ignored Jiatang Qingzhen's temptation and directly confronted him. Luo Rukei was a purple commander-level hero, and Jiatang Qingzhen, a blue leader-level hero, was indeed no match for him. He fled back to the main island of Japan through the portal in a panic, preparing to recuperate. He never expected that Luo Rukei would be so brave that in order to get rid of the trouble, he actually took his troops through the portal. 1,000-mile chase. Another big battle. Jiatang Qingzhen's small force was completely wiped out. Katong Qingzheng and Katagiri Kiwan fled separately. Zhao Wahi and Pingyi Taekang were captured by Luo Rukei and imprisoned in the prison of Gaibei Mountain City. What happened later was the personal experience of the deceased. On the map of Funnel Village, Xiaoming repaired an abandoned tavern. He happened to meet Katagiri Kiwan, who was escaping, and recruited him to his team. Later, he fought with Luo Rukei's forces. As a result, Xiaoming took away both the checkpoint and Gaibei Mountain City by mistake. Luo Rukei fled back to Daming with one general. His hero Dongshanhu and General Wang Yulong, as well as the two undead generals in prison, joined the deceased. Not long after, the deceased led his troops through the portal and came to Daming. At this time, Luo Rukei had long disappeared. The deceased met the lich prophet, took on the quest chain invasion of the undead, and was teleported to the southwest of Daming by the prophet. After a period of development, 3 cities, Pingnan City, Zhenyi City, and Dingnan City, were built. After completing the initial tasks, the undead forces under his command developed vigorously. Let's talk about Jiatang Qingzheng, who escaped alone. Of course, he went to his good brother Fudao Zhenzi. Fudao Zhenzi not only took him in, but also gave him half of his subordinates. He is worthy of being a good brother. When the two heroes returned with their troops, they found that the checkpoints and cities had changed hands. Several undead weighed their own strength. They could not withstand the catapults left by Xiaoming at the checkpoint. So they broke up into small pieces and passed the checkpoints and portals as refugees. Xiaoming once discovered that the hero who was missed in the tavern of Gaibei Mountain City was one of them. After passing the portal, he saw the lich prophet. Jiatang Qingzheng then knew the true whereabouts of several brothers. However, the mission he had taken on before had failed, and the lich prophet would not provide him with teleportation services. So these two undead troops sneaked over from the heart of the Ming dynasty, hiding during the day and coming out at night. That's why it took so long. Moreover, the undead are not welcome in the Ming dynasty, and even the bandits will beat them. Last time, they were too ostentatious, and were beaten by a bandit. Jiatang Qingzheng learned a lesson, and this time he was super cowardly and basically didn't dare to show up. This also led to their troops lacking supplies, so they had such a miserable life along the way. The troops gradually declined. Several cities of the deceased had been formed, and Jiatang Qingzheng didn't dare to touch them at all. Later, when he saw the pile of ship wreckage, Jiatang Qingzheng finally found an opportunity to show his skills. So he built a simple water fort with these broken ships. He is worthy of being an expert in architecture. They rested in the water fort, preparing to find an opportunity to sneak attack the main force of the deceased and snatch their brothers back. The undead speak directly. The skeleton cavalryman didn't care that the accuser was standing next to him. He said these words directly. The undead generals didn't feel embarrassed. It was normal for their brothers to want to snatch them back. However, they lived quite well under the accuser. They also felt the huge development potential of the accuser in the future. They definitely didn't want to leave the accuser. In the same mission, Jia Tangqing led a stronger force than the accuser, but was beaten. On the other hand, the accuser was able to expand the territory easily. The difference between the two was obvious. If possible, they also hoped that other brothers would join the accuser. After a while, the whole army of undeads came out of the water fort, and 4 undead heroes/generals came with the army. The 7 brothers finally met, and naturally they talked about the past, leaving the informant aside. Xiaoming didn't mind. Anyway, these will be our own people in the future. I'll use you to death. Soon the plot developed to the stage of how to subdue the 7 young generals of Jianyu. Such a force, in the early stage of the game, must not be easily subdued by the player. Xiaoming came to the southwest again through the portal. He delayed the time to meet with Jia Tangqingzhen's troops. Otherwise, they would have met long ago. If they met early, the ending would definitely not be good. The strength of the informant was not strong enough, and the favorability between him and the 3 generals was not enough. Jia Tangqingzhen was also a wise general. Maybe he would use the relationship between the 3 brothers and the informant to cooperate with each other. The informant would probably be skinned alive if he didn't die. However, these plots did not happen. Because Xiaoming accidentally pulled away the time. He accumulated strength and favorability. The reason why there was no battle on the spot at this moment was that the favorability between the accuser and the 3 generals was high enough. Because of the function of the 8-foot mirror. Jia Tangqingzhen and Fudao Genzi decided to give the accuser a chance to conquer him. The accuser needs to pass 3 levels in a row. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 616. The 7 generals of Jianyu made a bet with the person who reported the death. The person who reported the death needs to pass 3 levels. If he fails to pass 1 level, he will be considered a failure. If the person who reported the death fails, the 3 generals Katagiri, Pingyi, and Zaya will leave the person who reported the death. Of course, if the person who reported the death wins, the other 4 generals will join him. In short, regardless of the victory or defeat, the 7 generals of Jianyu will reunite again. The 3 levels are Wisdom, Bravery, and Logistics Construction. The first level is to plan and win 1,000 miles away. Tangqingzhen believes that he is still good at this. However, this level is used to make up the numbers. There is no need to compete at the beginning. Tangqingzhen lost to Luo Rukai, and later he defended the pass and was defeated again. He lost completely. The person who reported the death attacked the pass from above, defeated Luo Rukai's subordinates, and completely defeated Luo Rukai's army in the battle to defend the pass. The victory or defeat of this game is self-evident. Besides, Tangqingzhen had long known from his brothers that the accuser had a semi-artifact. To fight him, the team would have to endure 15 minutes of slowness and curse possession at the beginning. And the accuser's troops were extremely good at long-range soldiers, and they also had the help of catapults. Even if he led his army to fight for life and death, he would probably be dead. So he didn't go up to seek abuse. In fact, what the 3 generals including Katagiri Kiwaner knew was already old news. They hadn't seen Xiaoming lead the army in battle for a long time. They didn't know that Xiaoming's current combat ability had improved greatly compared to before. Let alone alchemy, puppets, shadow clones, transformers, king guards, etc., they had never seen them. If they really had to fight, Xiaoming could beat Katong Qingzheng to the point of doubting his existence. The second level, with a sword in hand and a horse invincible. Fudao Genzi had to fight the accuser alone. In his opinion, everyone's adventure level was level 2. Fudao Genzi is a death knight, a powerful combat profession. It is a bit unfair for him to fight against the undead wizard, the dead wizard. Xiaoming was speechless when he saw Fudao Genzi, who was only level 2. He hadn't faced such a low-level opponent head-on for a long time. Want to fight? Forget it. Xiaoming thought about it and used his 3 heads and 6 arms, one of which was the explorer. Then he used the explorer's special life skill Angel Gate. A holy light flashed, and a level 4 angel appeared in the air. Fudao Genzi was so scared that he fell off his undead warhorse on the spot. The other undead were also terrified. Fortunately, the game can identify enemies and friends. This angel belongs to the dead wizard, not the enemy. That's why everyone didn't attack hysterically. Fudao Genzi was already confused. If it wasn't an angel, even if it was a level 4 soldier, he would dare to go up and fight. With his combat power, he might not lose. However, angels are the nemesis of the undead, and they really can't beat them. Who is this informer of the dead? As a necromancer, he can actually summon angels. He is a real angel, not a fallen angel. Fudao Genzi was absolutely convinced. The undead present had almost the same mentality. Even the Lich Prophet who was watching the scene with spells from afar was moved. The Prophet didn't believe that the informer of the dead was a spy sent by the angels. How could a second-level kid be a spy? This is a gift. The Lich's brain turned quickly and began to make a small calculation. It would be a pity not to use this. But how to use it without causing a backlash from the informer of the dead is the most important thing. In the eyes of NPCs, players are adventurers. The Prophet still knows the temper of players. Forcing it is the worst strategy. If you lure and deceive, it will be much easier. After all, a drop of honey attracts more flies than a gallon of bile. The third level, before the troops move, the food and grass must go first. If you want to do your job well, you must first sharpen your tools. Logistics construction is the real reliance of a force. If the logistics are not good, strong soldiers and generals are just water without a source and trees without roots. In this regard, Jiatang Qingzhen is more confident. His political ability and construction ability are absolutely first class. It is 2 or 3 levels higher than his wisdom and bravery on the battlefield. Jiatang's military power is only slightly inferior to Fu Dao. It is much stronger than the other young generals. How to compare logistics construction? It's very simple. Jiatang Qingzhen and his subordinates built such a water fort in 3 days. The accused of the dead took 3 days to build something better. The 3 generals who followed the accused of the dead really saw a lot in this regard. The 2 maps of the abandoned land were built by the accused of the dead to level 0 and then built a city. But Jiatang Qingzhen found it hard to believe this statement. He felt that the informant must have used some special means. He really wanted to see it. This is good. Xiaoming led the many undead present and walked into the water fort together. It is obvious that at this time, this water fort only has a prototype and simple functions. It is still far from being completely completed. Xiaoming used his mental power to cover the entire water fort. Although the water fort is very large, it is still very small compared to Xiaoming's mental power. Then came the combination of source energy repair and alchemy. The whole thing began to take shape at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, Xiaoming also threw out a lot of various construction resources. He used them on the water fort without hesitation. This is the financial and material resources that Jiatang Qingzhen does not have. If you are willing to spend money, the effect will naturally be great. After more than 40 minutes, the entire water fortress stood on the riverside like a solid castle. Can this still be called a water fortress? It is simply a waterside city. This is the ability that only gods have. The eyes of the surrounding undead were straight. If they still had eyes. Jiatang Qingzhen knew very well that in the time it took to report the dead, he completed a project that would take him and his subordinates several months to do. And it would not be as good and accurate as the one reported the dead. He felt the most deeply about the magic in the middle. In fact, Xiaoming was a little opportunistic. Jiatang Qingzhen has design ability, and his existence is equivalent to having drawings. But Xiaoming doesn't have any drawings. A few drawings for upgrading a medium-sized shipyard are not enough to throw away the undead. However, with the help of the prototype of the water fortress that has already been built, Xiaoming has no problem repairing it. The game system will not ask him for drawings for this. The informant was like taking advantage of Katang Qingzhen. Katang Qingzhen certainly thought of this, but in front of the miracles shown by the informant, he would not care about such small details. The 7 generals of Jianyu and the undead troops of both sides bowed to the ground collectively. The prophet in the distance also nodded. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 617. Congratulations to the player for successfully completing the hidden task Subdue the 7 generals of Jianyu. The player obtains. The system's prompt officially announced that Xiaoming's operation was completely successful. He completed a task that was unlikely to be completed. The 7 generals are all NPCs with great development prospects. They are just a little weak in the early stage. Among them, Jiatang Qingzhen and Fudao Genzi are already considered protagonist-type characters. Their development potential is only slightly inferior to Li Huimei. Of course, their development speed and foundation are much worse than Li Huimei. After the protagonist-type NPC joins the player's army, their growth will definitely be affected. Basically, most of them will slow down. The originally designed plot will become the player's task, or a hidden task. Only by completing the task can you get the benefits of the plot. And players usually don't have so much time to do tasks for NPCs. Their own development is already very hard. So usually the development of these NPCs will be a little worse. But after becoming the player's subordinates, they still have a lot of advantages over other ordinary heroes and generals. Especially Jiatang Qingzhen and Fudao Genzi. They are blue boss level, and the informer is only green elite. Their growth is better than the informer. They will definitely become Xiaoming's capable subordinates in the future. Let's follow the system's prompt order and see what the informer has gained this time. First of all, the experience reward. This time, the hidden task beyond this stage was perfectly completed. Adventure experience and strategic experience are given to the highest level, directly upgraded to level 5. Because the adventure level is close to an integer, the system also gives some adjusted experience rewards. The adventure level of the informer reaches level 2 and level 15. The free attribute points obtained by upgrading are all added to agility by Xiaoming. His adventure attributes are, Strength 14, Constitution 14, Agility 18, Intelligence 25, Spirit 25, Vitality 180, Physical Strength 200, Mana 312. These data are actually useless. Because compared with Xiaoming's own supernatural energy, the bonus provided to the game character. These data can only be regarded as a fraction. The data on the strategic panel is more meaningful. The strategic level is upgraded to level 12. The strategic attributes are all added to the knowledge. Now there are 11 points of knowledge. The mana consumed by casting strategic magic is provided by the game system. Xiaoming cannot replenish it with source energy. So Xiaoming tried to improve the strategic knowledge of the dead reporter as much as possible. In this way, he can use more magic. In terms of professional talent, he was lucky. The primary wisdom of the dead reporter was upgraded to the intermediate level, allowing him to learn the strategic magic of level 4. In addition, the system also gave the dead reporter a reward of 28,000 gold coins. These benefits are trivial. The real advantage is brought by the gathering of the 7 young generals. First of all, because the 7 young generals were gathered under the command of the dead reporter. Their favorability towards the dead reporter was collectively averaged, and now it is 74. This is quite good. And with the perfect completion of this mission, their strength has also soared collectively. The strategic and adventure levels of the 5 green elite generals collectively reached level 2 and level 0. The 2 blue ones have reached level 2, so there is no further change. In addition, the system gave Xiaoming a surprise. 2 is the blue hero, and he has also been transferred from a hero to a general. At this time, the 7 of them are the real 7 generals. Xiaoming knows without asking. If these 7 generals gather in a large army, they will definitely be the strongest. There must be special bonuses. At this time, the deceased can lead 7 troops. With the 7 generals, it is directly full. The special bonus is that the 7 generals have a collective strategic attack of add 7. Don't underestimate this number. The strategic attack of the deceased itself is only 4, including weapons. The strategic attack of the 7 generals is all over 10 points. Fudeo Gen Z even exceeds 20. This is still when their levels are relatively low, and more advantages have not yet been reflected. On the strategic map, if there are generals and heroes in the army at the same time, they will accept the strategic attribute bonus of the general. The strategic attribute of the hero can only be added to the troops directly under his jurisdiction. The deceased does not have any troops directly under his jurisdiction now, and his strategic attack and defense are just decorations for the time being. It just so happens that it is not high. Zhang Haisheng, an extra 0-level general, had to be left in the water fort by Xiaoming as a guard. But Xiaoming was still very kind. He used the death silver coin to turn him into an undead hero. In this way, he can move more freely. What's more amazing is that the undead forces led by Jiatang Qingzheng and Fudeo Genzi have greatly expanded the army under the command of the dead. It's just that the group of scattered soldiers led by them are already very chaotic. Fortunately, Xiaoming's death silver coin has the ability to change the undead army, which costs Xiaoming a lot of time and death breath. He completely adjusted the troops of the dead. And it was rounded up. The extra change was left to Zhang Haisheng. The composition of the 7 troops under the command of the deceased is as follows. Katagiri Cutting Circle add 2nd level zombie * 200 add 2nd level 10 Corruptor zombie * 100 add 3rd level 20 Iron Gate zombie * 50. Pingyi Taekang add 1st level crossbow skeleton soldier * 800 add 1st level 10 crossbow skeleton soldier * 200. Zao of 50% off add 2nd level skeleton shield warrior * 300. Slant board placement add 2nd level ghost * 200. Gaetang Jiamian add 2nd level skeleton swordsman add 150 add 3rd level skeleton swordsman * 50. Fudeoj Hanzi add 3rd level skeleton crossbow cavalry * 150 add 4th level skeleton heavy cavalry * 20. The dead and Jiatanking Gen add 3rd level skeleton mage * 250. The actual command power on the dead panel is 350 points. It is only the command power of 7 generals. The actual force is close to 5,000 command power. Except for the zombie troops led by Katagiri Kiwaner and the ghost troops led by Jiatang Jiamian. The other generals command the skeleton troops. In fact, they had a lot of black warriors and various messy undead troops under their command before, but now they are all unified by Xiaoming. Fudeoj Hanzi is suitable for leading the Death Knight. However, the level of the Death Knight is too high, and Xiaoming has no one under his command for the time being. So far, Fudeo has only trained 24th level skeleton heavy cavalry. Cavalry is a type of soldier that always charges ahead, and the losses are too great, so it is difficult to train them. Xiaoming was reluctant to do so, so he equipped his skeleton cavalry with crossbows and turned them into skeleton crossbow cavalry. The 250 skeleton wizards led by Tang Qingzheng just happened to become the personal guards of the undead wizard, the dead wizard. Suddenly, the dead wizard's troops surged to this extent. Xiaoming was a little uncomfortable. It seems that it is time to adjust the strategy. Xiaoming thinks that the dead wizard should return to the main island of Japan to develop. Xiaoming is really tired of building in the wilderness all the time. There is no suitable target for war nearby, and Xiaoming is determined not to go to war with the Ming dynasty. Whether it is officers and soldiers or bandits. Let's go back to the main island of Japan, where Xiaoming has no scruples about fighting with anyone. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 618. Xiaoming was very satisfied with these. However, the rewards of the system did not end. Finally, the deceased can learn a racial talent from any of the 7 generals. Racial talents are extremely rare. In addition to special tasks, you can only get a racial talent when you advance each character. Xiaoming was overjoyed. Apart from other things, he had been coveting Jia Tang Qingzhen's construction ability. This should be a racial talent, right? He quickly opened the attribute panel of his subordinates. Sure enough, Jia Tang Qingzhen has the racial talent of advanced construction. Although there is no detailed description, this name looks very good. In order not to leave any regrets, Xiaoming also browsed the attribute panels of the other 6 people. The talents of the 5 green generals are ordinary talents, nothing great. Fu Dao Genzi has the racial talent of advanced attack acceleration. It looks extraordinary, but it is not what Xiaoming needs. After Xiaoming chose to learn the construction talent from Jia Tang Qingzhen, the system automatically started the plot. Jia Tang Qingzhen invited the dead person to a room in the water fort, and the two entered the learning mode. System prompt: the player who told the dead has entered a special learning state and cannot move temporarily. The results and time of the study are determined by the understanding of the dead person, Jia Tang Qingzhen's talent, and the goodwill between the two. Simply put, if both the teacher and the student are very smart and have a good relationship, the final results will be relatively good, and the time consumed will be relatively less. The so-called understanding of the dead person actually refers to the player's online time. If Xiaoming himself is willing to spend all the time here, he will show a higher understanding. But Xiaoming certainly doesn't want to waste so much time, so he has to settle for the second best and arrange an A-level intelligent program to replace himself. It's worse than himself, but A-level is enough. So, the 2 game cabins are uncle and aunt? Great. At dinner, Xiaoming told his sister and brother Wen about the Shenan plan. There were suddenly 2 more game cabins in Guangmingding, and Xiao Jing'er and Zhang Wen certainly noticed it. It's just that the 3 of them are now strong, and they often practice without sleep and forget to eat, so eating is not necessary. So it's common to not talk for a few days. When anyone has free time, they often find that the other 2 are either practicing or playing games. Sometimes, they will disappear from Guangmingding. There are also some things to deal with in reality. Xiao Jing'er is a little absent-minded about her parents' affairs. Because there are other things to say, brother, my school. Seeing his sister hesitating, Xiaoming thought of something bad. Huh? What's wrong with your school? Aren't you a recommended student? Did they regret it? What? No, Xiao Jing'er knew that her brother had misunderstood, and quickly explained, they wrote to say that I was assigned to the major of biomedical engineering. And I was recruited to join a certain project, and asked me to report to the school the day after tomorrow. Even the flight to Zhongdu Chang'an has been booked. After a period of silence, Fat Brother spoke about another thing. Coincidentally, my online store also received a big business. The other party acted like a fool with a lot of money. The only request was that I go to Tokyo. There was another silence. Xiaoming sighed, alas, this is probably a matter of time. Someone will always have to take some control. Yes, Xiaoming brother Wen nodded, my side is still a small matter. Sister Xiao Jing'er will have to go to school sooner or later. Unless our family runs away. Xiao Jing'er shook her head and said, running away will be more troublesome. Think about it, in fact, no one knows that we have the ability to stay away from Pangustar, so they are not too afraid of us. Now these are just normal means. If we run away, wouldn't it seem like a thief with a guilty conscience? People will definitely think, why are you running away? There must be something fishy. Although we can run away temporarily, can we still enter the reincarnation space? If we are targeted in the space, then now we at least have the protection of Zhang Shizu. If we run away, it will be difficult for Lord Zhang Shizu to intervene. The sister is still clear-headed and sees clearly. She should go to school. Even to show that everything is normal, Zhang Wen should go to Dongdu. It is also problematic for a small businessman to not make such a lot of money. Of course, Xiaoming also made necessary guarantees. First of all, Brother Wen is now a bug zombie. If he is willing, he can still be accepted by Xiaoming's spiritual kingdom. In this way, Xiaoming can clearly feel anything that happens here. He can be pulled back by wormholes at any time. In fact, the entire Pangustar can be covered by Xiaoming's spiritual scan. Wormholes can also be opened at will. However, the problem is that there are many S-level masters on Pangustar. No matter how brave Xiaoming is, he dare not cover the world with his spiritual power. Who knows how many big guys will be angry? Let alone the world, he dare not even the whole city. Now he only scans the vicinity of his home. It is not as large as the circle. But what should Xiao Jing'er do? She went to the military medical university. It is under the control of the military. Xiaoming could not send a uniform housekeeper and a shadow clone to go with him. It would be strange if he could get in. And my sister is unwilling to transform into a bug human. It doesn't matter that Brother Wen is a zombie. My sister is still a beautiful girl and will get married in the future. Turn her into a bug human, and my parents will jump out of the game cabin and beat me up. When I was hesitating, my sister gave me a solution, dimensional array. This is a treasure from a certain reincarnation world, and it is called Imperial Tool in that world. It is said that this treasure originally has the ability to teleport in time and space. Of course, the piece of rag in my sister's hand is a fragment of the Imperial Tool. I don't know how she got it. In fact, she had already considered going to school. Even Xiaoming hadn't thought about this carefully. She had also been looking for a solution. I don't know if she was lucky or there was some other reason. She really found a way for her. Imperial Tool Dimensional Array, also known as Shangri-La, it comes from the world of Kill Red Eyes. It is a space-moving Imperial Tool that can instantly move the target to a designated location. But it consumes a huge amount of energy and cannot be activated continuously. Its performance is also rare among all Imperial tools. As long as Xiaoming can use source energy to repair this fragment, coupled with strict restrictions, this should be able to achieve the desired effect. This practice is equivalent to setting restrictions and oaths in the power of the treasure. If it were someone else, I'm afraid they wouldn't be able to do this. Only Yuan Neng can play such an extraordinary operation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 619. 2 days later, on the morning of July 15, Xiaoming went to the airport to send Wen Ji and his sister away. There was a dimension mark in the palm of Xiao Jing'er's right hand. That was where Xiaoming imprinted the fragments of the dimensional array imperial tool. Xiaoming was also full of energy. This mark can record 2 locations. No matter where the sister is, as long as this mark is triggered, she can choose to teleport to any of the 2 locations. One of the locations is in Xiaoming's Kunlun, the other location, Xiao Jing'er plans to set in Zhongdu Chang'an. Find a secret place outside the university, so that she can run back and forth at will. In order to make the dimensional mark work, Xiaoming set some restrictions on this mark. This mark can only be activated by Xiao Jing'er herself. Even Xiaoming cannot use it, he can only charge it. The teleportation can only teleport Xiao Jing'er herself and her personal clothes. You can't teleport with a lot of things, of course, it doesn't matter if you carry a skull bag or something. Such restrictions are enough. Xiaoming used triple source energy to strengthen it. How could a mere fragment of an imperial tool reject source energy? What's more, Xiaoming also has a blue cactus. He is also very knowledgeable about space teleportation. It is not difficult to achieve this level. In addition, Xiao Jing'er also has a uniformed butler shadow clone sent by Xiaoming. Although this butler shadow clone cannot be brought into the military medical university, but it can be placed outside the school. It is just right to send him to guard another location where the mark is recorded. With the butler, there is a door to Guangmingding. Xiaoming can send backup troops at any time. Now in Guangmingding, Xiaoming has always maintained about 20 shadow clones, always ready to support various exits. Brother Wen has nothing around him. It's not that Xiaoming favors one over the other. It's that Zhang Wen really doesn't need a butler around him. He himself is under the jurisdiction of Xiaoming's spiritual empire. Xiaoming can see the situation around him at any time and can open a wormhole at any time. At this time, sending a butler is unnecessary. When he arrives in Dongdu, Tokyo, and has a place to stay, it won't be too late to send him there. Brother Master, don't be sad. Sister Xiao Jing'er is going to school, and I'm still here. Can I live in your house? A cute voice came from beside him. It was Li Songrui, the 9th lady of the Li family. It's too much for a little girl to live in another man's house. 9th sister, don't talk nonsense. Another girl's voice sounded, first scolding the little loli, and then said to Xiaoming. Master, my little sister has caused you trouble. After saying that, she bowed her head to apologize. This is the little loli's sister, the 6th lady of the Li family, nicknamed Li Qingzhao. When she bowed her head, her long hair slid down like a golden waterfall, reflecting a little light, very beautiful. On Pangustar, although the history after the Tang dynasty has been rewritten. However, most of the famous figures in history are still as famous as before. People's abilities are there, and they will always shine. Li Qingzhao is one of them. Miss Six gave herself this nickname, probably because she is also her fan. Unlike the naughty Li Songrui, Li Qingzhao is gentle and graceful, and her every move is like a lady from a noble family. Her appearance is quite outstanding, and her golden hair is also natural. After so long, other things have also been integrated into the genes of Waxia. Of course, she is also a reincarnation, and it seems that she has reached the level of 4th level D. She is about to be promoted to C level. Looking at the soft sword wrapped around her waist, you know that she is also a warrior. It is estimated that her strength is on par with Zhao Yun of the Tang dynasty. Why did she and Li Songrui appear at the airport? In fact, she came to accept Xiaoming's enhancement. Since Xiaoming showed the means of super energy seeds last time, this matter has spread among the top forces. In terms of scale, since Xiaoming has formed an alliance with Zhang Shizu, Hong Chao naturally led this matter. Everyone actually doesn't know how many benefits the forces behind Xiaoming can issue. However, everyone is very clear about their own strengths. Judging from their own experience, they think that this kind of operation will only happen once a year at most. Only in this way can we achieve a long-term effect. At the same time, all forces must give something in return, so as not to appear too greedy. As long as the forces agree to accept this kindness, they are friends. At least on the surface, they have acknowledged that the forces represented by Xiaoming have entered this circle. Some overly improper means can no longer be used. Of course, there are a few forces that still want to test it again, so they did not accept the benefits of super energy seeds. After a compromise between each other, this year's welfare quota belongs to the Li family. With the relationship between the Li family and Zhang Xiaoming, this is also obvious. As for the benefits of Miss Nine, everyone consciously did not mention it. That is another matter. What Li Qingzhao wanted was also in the right way. People who practice martial arts, of course, need spiritual power. Miss Nine just came to watch the fun. They contacted Xiaoming last night. It's just that Xiaoming has to send his sister and brother went away today, so he couldn't take action last night. And the Li family actually knows this. The contact last night was just to say hello. This morning, Xiaoming came to the airport to see him off, and the two young ladies from the Li family came. Let's meet in front of Xiaoming's relatives. It will be easier to deal with them in the future. Because the Li family has made arrangements, Li Qingzhao will also enter the military medical university, and she is destined to be Xiao Jing'er's roommate. This is not an offense to Xiaoming, but an extra layer of protection. Xiao Jing'er's situation is actually very similar to Xiaoming's. There are some interests involved, so people from various forces are bound to appear around him. With the sixth miss of the Li family, it is safer. The identity of the Li family is special, and it is not the same as ordinary forces. So it can handle some things in a more detached manner. The Li family showed such thoughtful kindness, Xiaoming naturally owed a favor. Next, in the secret room of a local antique shop of the Li family, Xiaoming opened Li Qingzhao's spiritual power. He also took the initiative to add some ingredients to make her spiritual foundation stronger. Wow, feeling the excitement of her own spiritual power, Li Qingzhao was a little excited. When the ninth sister and Yun Ji came back to say it, I was a little bit unconvinced. This time, I was slapped in the face. Master, you are so awesome. The girl was a little excited, and she actually used honorifics to Xiaoming. There were complex considerations for the family to choose her to be strengthened. In addition to the fact that she was just right to get close to Lu Xiaojing and her improper position in the family. Although being the first to be strengthened is a good thing, it is actually risky. Who dares to say that if Miss Nine succeeds, the others will definitely succeed? In the estimation of all parties, there is still a certain element of risk. So the first few people are still testing the waters. The Li family used a young lady to test the waters, which also gave Xiaoming enough face. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 620. After Li Qingzhao thanked Zhang Xiaoming again and again, she left with her reluctant sister and several capable subordinates. She naturally had to go to Zhongdu to study. However, the Li family had their own private plane, and there was a teleportation array available in case of emergency. There was no need to take a public plane. Xiaoming could see that the sixth miss was really grateful to him. Before coming, Li Qingzhao was really a little uneasy. Now that she succeeded, she was really ecstatic. From now on, her status in the Li family will be very different. It is no longer the embarrassing status before. This involves the issue of power distribution within the Li family. She will not say it, and Xiaoming does not want to ask. He was holding a piece of bamboo tube given by Li Qingzhao and looking at it carefully. It looks like an ordinary bamboo tube, emerald green. You can't tell that it is a token of a class, a holy place in the Li family. This is what the sixth miss should have used. As long as you infuse spiritual power into the token, you will get the opportunity to travel to the class a holy place. During the spiritual journey, you may get a chance to be enlightened and open your spiritual power. If you cannot open your spiritual power, you may also get something like a technique. Generally, you will not return empty-handed. Although it is something of almost equal value, Xiaoming can't help but doubt, is it really good for the Li family to open the Holy Land to outsiders like this? Is it too casual? Or, is this a trap? Xiaoming certainly thought too much. The relationship between the Li family and him is in the honeymoon period. How could they plot against him at this time? The A-level Holy Land sounds good. In fact, it is already a relatively poor choice for the Li family. Looking up, there are also special level Holy Lands. There are also differences between the upper and lower levels of special level Holy Lands. The first time that the sixth lady Li Qingzhao opened her spiritual power was in an ordinary Holy Land among the special level Holy Lands. However, her talent and understanding were not enough, and she failed to seize that opportunity to open her spiritual power. So this time, the A-level Holy Land is actually the last chance given to her by the Li family. If she still cannot open her spiritual power, the resources of the Li family will no longer be inclined towards her. Many reincarnations just look young. Even if the reincarnations who have reached a certain level are nearly 70 years old, they still look like high school students. Their physical strength also matches their appearance. Li Qingzhao is now in her 40s, and her development potential has gradually dried up. If she were an ordinary person, it would be good to develop to this point. But as the sixth lady of the Li family, she has resources that others can hardly reach. She still developed into the spare. Standing on the vent, she didn't fly. Is she a whale? This also shows that Li Qingzhao is indeed not very suitable for martial arts training, nor is she very suitable for the reincarnation space. That's why she was chosen by the Li family to be the first experimenter. In the eyes of the elders at home, even if Li Qingzhao enters the class a Holy Land, it should be difficult to open her spiritual power. It's better to exchange this opportunity with Xiaoming's welfare. If it succeeds, it's a big profit. If it loses, it doesn't matter. There is nothing to plot in the class a Holy Land, so there is no need to worry about Xiaoming's wandering. Xiaoming has been timid recently because he suffered a loss on the blue cactus. He didn't dare to try it himself. Instead, he put the bamboo tube into Guangmingding and gave it to Xiaolu for safekeeping. In the past 2 days, the Zerg's territory is still under construction in full swing, but it has already taken shape. The huge centipede corpse was eaten by the Zerg, and one of its parts was bitten by a flying dragon, and a 1-meter-long small centipede slid out. This small centipede looked like a Zerg soldier, but it was already unconscious. Through the spiritual kingdom, Lu Xiaoming immediately discovered this and quickly ordered the flying dragon to bring the small centipede to him. The flying dragons under the Zerg king were all strengthened by the Zerg evolution needle, and each one was very smart. If it were other Zergs, they might have bitten it long ago. Holding the small centipede in his hand, Lu Xiaoming found that it was not unconscious at all, but it had no soul at all. It is estimated that this is the child in the belly of the big centipede, and it was killed when it was hit by Xiaoming's feedback skill. Do you want to give it a new soul? Xiaoming thought about it and gave up. The insect king directly absorbed the little centipede. As Xiaoming expected, the ability to suck blood and read memories worked a little bit. Xiaoming saw some memory fragments. A story was roughly connected. This little centipede was not the child of the big centipede, but the big centipede's clone. A long time ago, the big centipede was actually a centipede soldier of the Zerg. This soldier must be a high-level soldier of the Zerg, and Xiaoming and the queen insect still don't know it. Moreover, the centipede is also a magical soldier, which makes the centipede have good intelligence and mental strength. Only then was it selected into the reincarnation space. Before entering the reincarnation space, This big centipede seemed to control a million-level Zerg army. This guy turned out to be a master. After entering the reincarnation space, Xiao Ming's retrospective memory was not very clear. Probably once, it was caught by a Taoist priest and raised as a pet. After practicing a strange magic trick, the centipede's body became bigger and bigger, and its intelligence became lower and lower. Later, the centipede grew into a giant, but its intelligence had dropped to the level of a fool, and it was kicked out of the reincarnation space. It just didn't take back the abilities it had gained. It was no longer allowed to enter the reincarnation space. The Taoist priest who raised it definitely had bad intentions. He probably wanted to make it into a powerful puppet. But he lost both the wife and the army. In the process of growing up, the centipede exerted some special instincts. It gave birth to its own clone again in its body. It wanted to escape the tragic fate in the future. However, this attempt was also abandoned halfway. Because by the time the clone was formed, it was so stupid that it forgot about it. Alas, this Zerg child is a bit pitiful. It seems that Zerg is not easy to get along in the reincarnation space. Before, the Zerg king was also locked up in the demon locking tower by the Sword Saint. If he hadn't had a way, he would probably be locked up to death. This centipede is even more miserable. It didn't meet a kind-hearted person like the Sword Saint. Instead, it met an evil monk, so that it ended up like this. It is definitely a non-African. This clone concentrates 70% of the essence of the centipede master, which is a great tonic for Xiao Ming at this stage. After the insect king absorbed the clone, he clearly felt that the physical properties of the insect king's body had been strengthened, and even the other two bodies were strengthened. The physical properties of green Xiaoming's body reached the 5th level of primary, silver Xiaoming's body reached the 4th level of intermediate, and yellow Xiaoming reached the 4th level of primary. They all grew a lot. Unfortunately, the centipede's mental power was detonated by the feedback, so Xiaoming's mental power could not be strengthened. It's a piece of cake.